So there's going to be a couple of new terms and ideas on this. When we get to dive into the STL version, C++ of vectors, queues, stacks, whatever, you're actually going to find out that they have very few features or functions that you can actually manipulate. And that's done on purpose. That's done on purpose because of, one, the integrity of the actual data structure. Think about it. All of us know queues. So we may not have gone into queues yet, but you know what a queue is. We live in a queue, basically. It really pisses you off when somebody butts in front of you in a queue, right? So in the queue, overall set of functions, members, behaviors, you're not going to have that feature that enables somebody to butt in front in a queue. You're not going to have that. It's going to have the integrity to act exactly like a queue should. Just coming from an airport, trust me, I know about queues and people butting in front. But anyway, it gives you control of what options that, frankly, what you need, and it won't give you controls of stuff you don't need for that particular data structure. It's very, very, very handcuffed on exactly what you can do with that particular STL data structure. Now, it's going to vary, obviously, a little bit different between stack and queues and vectors, but it's very tight on controls to keep that integrity. But the other part about this is if the abstract data type, ADT, I said that right for a change, me and my dyslexia, whose creation update are constrained by well-defined operations. Well-defined and very narrow. Again, that handcuffing of making sure the data type or data structure, I should say, acts the way it should. Now, the word abstract is going to come from this. It means usually that we are going to, as programmers, only be able to access some high-level functions while the inner workings of it really do all the rest of the work that we don't even look at and we can't even touch. So the nice part is we do that, the internal details remain hidden from them, being us, the programmers, and frankly, it gives us less opportunity to screw something up. So when we go into the different functions here and members of, and this one happens to be, what, a stack, this one happens to be a stack, you'll see that it's very limited on what we can do, and now you know why. So for a stack, which again, you might be looking for vector or whatever, you can still go to c++.com and I'll have the vector on there. Take a look instead. There's going to be a lot of similarities. So other than a constructor, for a stack, there's going to be an empty, a size, a top, and a push, because again, we're worried about a stack, which we'll go over a little bit more here in details. But those are your different member functions that you have, and then that's about it. Just to prove that for a stack, for just a stack, which is even simpler than a vector and maybe even queue and vector, but anyway. Once you're in your IDE, notice, by the way, if you look at most of these, they're actually duplicates of one another. Notice the constructor. The constructor is massive. There's a lot of different options for the constructor, but that's just one function. Then we have size, push, but notice that's it. There's not a lot to really look at when it comes to the overall functionality of what is in an STL stack. If you're doing a queue, your options are going to be limited. For a vector, your options are going to be very limited. That's, again, they're hand-holding you and handcuffing you to not screw it up and to make sure the integrity of the data structure is consistent so nobody butts in front of me and going through a drive-through. But anyway, so for the exercises here, all of them are, I'm not going to go over solution because they're easy to find, to be very honest with you, but bear with me here. So using C++, look up stack. Actually, or for those of you doing this for vectors, look up vectors. Okay? There's not going to be much to it. There's not going to be a lot of options to it, so that's what I want you to see and be familiar with. That and frankly, C++.com. Identify the different functions that are in C++ 14 or whatever we happen to be using. Use that to your advantage. And then I want you to draw out what the swap would do, particularly for a stack here. To be honest with you, not to draw it out. I just want you to figure out what it's trying to do when we have some type of swap in stacks. This one is particularly set for stacks. So again, this is more of not an exercise where I'll come back and have you do, just take a look at it, take a look at the C++.com, and take a look at those two features that I specifically have for 2 and number 3.